All right, welcome again to yet another episode of the CEO. And on this episode today, we talk to the Chief Executive Officer of Jalaram Medical Services, who is Nurali Momin. Now, we just want to get to understand his journey to rising to this position and sit on this particular seat and say, I am the boss today. And also the impact that this particular place actually has to offer, or rather is doing to the people around the country, right? Thank you so much, Mr. CEO.
Thank you very much.
I really do appreciate your time and letting us just have this sit down with you and being open with us when it comes to the journey and rising to this particular seat for you.
Sure.
Let me start with sitting on that particular seat for you and just, saying now, I'm the CEO, I am the boss. How has it been for you? Take us through the journey and how you came to rise to this.
Well, I started my journey in 1978 as the laboratory technologist at the Aga Khan Hospital, Nairobi. And my career has been moving smoothly and steadily at that particular place. And one of the reasons why it moves so steadily is because of my passion, my dedication to work. And I was always aiming high, that I want to be, I didn't want to die as the laboratory technologist. I wanted to be something else in future. So that's the kind of aiming which actually helped me to progress well in my life. And looking at my dedication also, the institution supported me very well. So I would say that during this particular journey, I had very many promotions from a laboratory technologist. I became the in charge of a biochemistry section within 2 years' time. And after that, I became the laboratory manager in 1984. And then somewhere in 1986-87, they sponsored me for my MBA program at the University of Leeds, and with the help of Aga Khan Foundation. And once I came back, I did not go back to the laboratory. They did send me to the orientation of the Aga Khan University Hospital in Karachi for almost like 1 month. And once I got that orientation, when I came back to Aga Khan Hospital, Nairobi, they said, I'm not going back to the laboratory, but I'll be assistant director of the hospital. And that really excited me. And after that, I never looked back. Then in 1991, I got the opportunity to become the CEO of Aga Khan Hospital, Kisumu. And that's where my proper leadership program started, or leadership position started. And that's when I became like a solo CEO, taking entire responsibility of the entire hospital. So you had to be very careful. You have to be very cognizant of all your responsibilities, because in a hospital, you get patients, you get relatives, you get all sorts of people, and you have to handle them well. So people skill is one of the most important aspects of the CEO in this office. Of course, leadership comes in as well. And leadership also is part of people skill is also part of the leadership. Communication also is very, very important, because you come across very anxious, very excited or even worried people. So you need to manage them very tactfully in different situations. And sometimes some people can be very aggressive as well, so you still need to manage them. So after becoming the CEO of the Aga Khan Hospital, Kisumu, then I was called back again at the Aga Khan Hospital, Nairobi, as the Chief Operating Officer. So again, considering the bigger institution, so I held the chief operating position. And if you know the Princess Zara Pavilion in Aga Khan Hospital, that was one of my pet projects. And I'm really proud of that particular project. Yeah. Then again, Kisumu, I was sent back to Kisumu again. We had some challenges. So to handle those challenges, I was told to go back to Kisumu. And then at the same time, Mombasa had issues. So what I was told is that manage both the places and make sure that they are operationally excellent, and which we did it. And we actually both the institutions were successfully managed. And I was, like as I said earlier on, that managing the two institutions is not easy from different areas.
Exactly. Yeah. So let me get to understand, in managing the two institutions for you, what did you employ in terms of having a skill that made it easier for you to actually get to manage that?
So what we did is that for Aga Khan Hospital, Kisumu, we employed somebody as the Chief Operating Officer who would look after the day-to-day operation of the institution. But the strategic decision, direction, guidance, and everything then will be the responsibility of the CEO of Aga Khan Hospital, Mombasa, who was then responsible for Kisumu as well.
Okay.
So most important thing in that one, again, as I said, the communication is very, very important. And what we call, again, that's what we call the delegation. Sometimes you're still the boss, but you need to delegate appropriately. You need to delegate effectively without losing your accountability. You must be accountable for whatever you delegate. So that's important.
Okay. So just because you're delegating authority to somebody to do something, it doesn't mean that it exempts you from whatever, consequences or whatever results are going to come out of that. You also have to take responsibility of that.
Yes. I was totally responsible for all operation, all outcome of that institution, patient satisfaction, quality assurance, business development, big place expansion. Still, I was responsible for it. Not only just that sitting there and somebody else is doing your job. No. Yeah. At the end of the day, the board looks at you that you are the final person to be answerable.
All right. Let us go back to how you rose through the ranks, because you tell your story and it looks like it has been a smooth ride to some extent, or you've had luck on your side where you come after 2 years, you get a promotion and all that. What is it about your work that made it so easy for you to get to be promoted and be trusted with even bigger assignments?
Just give you a small example of my laboratory, how I became a laboratory manager. Yeah. I had the laboratory manager. Unfortunately, he was physically challenged, and he could not even sign, but mentally he was excellent. He knew laboratory inside out, but he needed somebody to help him. So he used me as his caddy. Yeah. So whenever he wanted to plan a laboratory, he would tell me, okay, do this is how you do the laboratory planning. This is how you do the staff planning. This is how you do the equipment planning. So from a technical knowledge, slowly and gradually, I learned the management skill. So that was my first exposure to a management skill. Okay. And when he passed on, when they advertised the position, I was ready for that position. Because I had to. So in the interview, it was very easy for me to go through that journey. Yeah. Because I knew the whole thing, how exactly the laboratory operates.
So you took the initiative to get to learn. You put yourself in that. You found yourself in that position where somebody was willing to show you exactly how things do operate, and you grabbed it and went with it.
And that was an opportunity. Either it was God sent or whatever it is, but that was an opportunity. I just grabbed it, and that's how I learned my management. That was the first lesson of management: how to plan, how to execute.
All right. Now let's get to because from there I believe you never looked back and decided, now this is exactly what I want and this is exactly how I'm going to go about it. You went back and had an education just to further your studies and all that. What prompted that for you?
Again, so some of in your life there are certain people who are very important. They become your mentor. And I had the chief executive officer called Mr. Hop Homburg. After few, when I did my laboratory management and laboratory manager, then I told him, I said, what is my future after this one? He said, move to management. I said, how? He said, go and do MBA. I said, I have never thought about doing an MBA or anything. And he was a professor at the Boston University at the time. And he told me, here are the prospects. Select the one which is appropriate course for me. I said, what about money? He said, we'll talk about it later. First select the college. And I decided to select a college in University of Leeds. And then when we started talking about the money, he said, apply scholarship for Aga Khan Foundation, which I did. And normally, the scholarship in Kenya, so many people apply, but they select 2 or 3 maximum. And there are almost thousands of applications. And considering what we call my performance in the past, looking at my qualification, educations, and all those things, and the references from my CEO, that helped me to gain that, achieve that particular scholarship from Aga Khan Foundation. And that sponsored my education program at the University of Leeds.
Yeah. And you went with it.
That's right.
Let me get back to you growing up and how you came to identify that this is exactly what you wanted to do. You want to be in the medical field and, offer medical services, all that.
Well, originally my vision was to become a medical doctor.
Okay. That was your vision, so you were not deviated at all?
Yeah, so unfortunately I was not successful. Then I just decided to go to do what we call the paramedics, and that is the laboratory technologies course. So I did my Bachelor's of Science in microbiology, and then I did certificate in medical laboratory technology. And then I got my job at the Aga Khan Hospital, Nairobi, and that actually helped me to progress my career.
So that was the stepping stone for you, making sure that you actually rise through the ranks to the top position with that. So meaning, to some extent, you still got to achieve whatever you were dreaming of, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
But I never dreamt that I was going to be a CEO of the hospital.
Yeah.
But when I moved into the laboratory management, and then I consulted my boss, and he said, this is where your future lies. Because he could understand my capability, especially in the managerial skill. So he said, that's where your future is. Pursue it. And I did.
Yeah. Let me get to understand some of the challenges, because life does have some challenges in terms of young people just wanting to pursue a career and all that, and you were started in the 90s. What are some of the things you went through, and is there a point in life where you sat down and questioned whether you are doing the right thing?
Yeah, there are many occasions, like in your life when it comes to a stage, you have to make some hard-nosed decision. Like initially I was planning to migrate to Canada, and at the same time I was offered the job in Kisumu, so it was a dilemma whether I should go to Kisumu or to Canada. And I decided to go to Kisumu rather than to Canada. Not many people do that.
No. I was to ask you that.
And today
why did
I don't regret it.
Yeah.
And I don't regret it at all.
Yeah. Why did you choose Kisumu and not Canada? Because just like you said, a lot of people would have chosen Canada because that's an opportunity for you to get out of the country.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Canada is because of my children's education in future, because the university and everything is paid for. So when I was going to Kisumu, actually I went and visited the place, and one challenging thing was that education in Kisumu, especially my children were doing what we call the A-levels and the Cambridge curriculum. They were following Cambridge curriculum, which was not available in Kisumu. So when I came back and I told the board that I would like to go to Kisumu, but these are the challenges. And actually they said, that's not your worry. And then it's not my worry, then why should I go to Canada? Might as well go to Kisumu. And they actually sponsored my children to the top leading school in Kenya, which is the St. Andrew's Turi.
Would you call your life just God's grace or luck? How would you put it? What would you say has been the driving factor that has actually been making you, rise to the top and actually find favor even with your bosses?
The most important aspect is your family support. And my wife has been very, very supportive in this particular journey. I would move from one place to the other. As I was telling you, when I went to Kisumu the second time, I was actually operating both, again, similarly, like in Nairobi, I was managing projects as the chief operating officer. And then I was also managing Kisumu. So again, I was work about 3-4 days in Kisumu and 2 days in Nairobi. So at that time, you need support from your family, because that time now I'm traveling up and down, so she looks after she gave away her career. She's a Montessori teacher, but she decided to give her career. So that's a sacrifice which made me successful.
Okay. That's a very big sacrifice.
That's right, yeah.
You really do appreciate that, don't you?
Yeah.
Another challenge that maybe you might have faced as a young person when rising through the ranks in actually becoming the CEO today?
Sometimes, like like you come a stage that, do I really want to work for this place or not? You come across those kind of feelings once in a while. So that did happen to me once when I had some differences with one of my CEOs, because I've come across many CEOs during my career, but I had a challenging with one of the CEOs. Then I had to tell my board that I might have to decide to leave this place. And they said, no, what are the differences? And then we were called together and we talked amicably, and the situation was resolved. So I continued working there. But at one stage you decide that, do I really want to continue? So those situations do arise in your life. But again, there are solutions. And one thing I've learned is that have a dialogue.
It's important to have a dialogue, because in most cases nowadays, if you look at, I don't know if we can actually give reference to the world today and the youth today on whether they are willing to have that dialogue and decide, now this is the right direction that I need to take, or people just jump to, decide, I don't feel okay here, I feel frustrated, I know my rights, and I'm going out. So what do you say to that for somebody who decided at one point in life to sit down and have a dialogue and find the way forward and actually got to stay as opposed to leaving, which was initially something that you had thought?
Like in my case, the career was progressing so well, and this was my institution. It was choice of institution which I wanted to work for. It was progressing well, and then, as I said, that like you come across these kind of things, but you need to sit down back, think about it. That just because of this one particular incident, do I want to compromise my entire career, entire life? No. So have a dialogue, and that helps. And actually, we managed to resolve it, and we became good friends.
Okay. Awesome. Now let me talk to, because you mentioned something to do with a project that you did when you're still at Aga Khan that was passionate to you and something that you looked you look at and you're very proud of it. Tell us about that.
This is, you must be knowing Aga Khan Hospital, Nairobi, and there is a Princess Zara Pavilion. I think this was the epic project at that time. We never had any particular institution which had a combination of hotel and the hospital aspect within one building. So we brought in that same aspect of hotel and the hospital. So hospitality and hospital were brought in together. Yeah. And actually I was sent to visit many places in Europe and in America to see how best we can bring in that technology into the same institution. And when I shared my plans with them, they said, instead of you visiting us, we should come and visit you. That was their sentiments. Okay. And it has become now a kind of a role model. So other hospitals who are coming up with their private wings, they are coming up with a similar concept. So we became like a role model. And today, if you look at the success of that particular institution, is one of the best in the country. Okay.
When you look back at that, and how does that make you feel?
I feel very proud. Yeah. Very proud.
Would you say it's your biggest achievement?
Yes, I would call it that. That's one of the projects which I feel really proud of. Of course, there are many milestones I put in this country. For example, the outreach concept, that is setting the clinical environment outside your own hospital. So that was the first concept I introduced in Kenya. Again, like laparoscopy surgery, as one of the first private hospital was the Aga Khan Hospital, and that's where the whole concept started. So again, I was part of that pioneer. If you look at the first kidney transplant in Kenya at that time in early 70s when I was a lab technologist. Okay. So again, I was part of that particular first kidney transplant in a private institution. Okay. Of course, the government were doing that time, but in a private institution, that was the first one. So you feel proud about those kind of achievements in your life, that you were really pioneer or participants in those pioneer projects.
Let me get to understand from a personal perspective, what are some of the lessons that you've got to learn as a person that has risen above or through the ranks to become the CEO today? What are some of the lessons in this field that you've actually got to learn?
So during my journey from laboratory technologist to the CEO position, one thing you learn in life is that, first of all, when you are young and upcoming in the management, then you're very aggressive. Your people skills can become very little abrasive as well. So when you come to the CEO's position, then you have to balance between your especially in your communication with how you handle people, how you delegate responsibilities. So you learn slowly and gradually when you go through this particular journey. So initially I would say that my the leadership style would have been more kind of an authoritarian, and now it is more participatory.
So communication skills, you said that is important in dealing with life. Communication skills, people skills, and leadership skills.
And the delegation.
How do people achieve that? Is it something that is inborn, or you get to learn as you move forward?
Well, you get to learn this one. You are never, as I said, that my management style evolved over a period of time. As I said, it was more of an authoritarian to begin with, and then it became. So as you progress in life, you also progress, as your maturity also increases, and you come across so many other people during that journey also. So, one thing about the Aga Khan Hospital was that they train their leaders very well. And you participate worldwide with all other leaders in the Aga Khan Development Network. Okay. And that was the biggest learning experience you can ever have in your life, that coming across. And also, Aga Khan Hospital also sponsored me to an executive program at the Queen Universities in Canada. And there also you come across so many different types of executives. And then you share their experience, their knowledge, their journey, and you learn from them.
Right. I want to take a break, but before I do that, you say something important, and you say your leadership initially was authoritarian, then you gradually got to unlearn that and try something different. When it was authoritarian for you, what kind of reception did you get from the people that worked under you?
Well, they will do the work, but they felt feared. So they were working under fear.
Yeah.
That's how I now, looking backward, that's what I think, that why were they responding, so that fear factor was there, so that could have helped me to achieve my objective. But maybe if I'd used the other technique, which I learned later in the later in the life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
but you learn.
Yeah, it's a learning process. Leadership is a learning process. Now, when you look back at that and compare it with the kind of leadership that you have right now, what's the difference, and how would you say the reception has been so far?
Well, as I said, that it is more participatory.
Okay.
And actually, I am what we call is that one of the reasons why I came here is to part with my knowledge to people. So it's like now a teacher and a professor kind of a relationship, so that actually I part with my knowledge, I train them, and I bring them up.
Now hold that thought there. In terms of impacting knowledge and just the second journey of your career and what you are doing with this particular place is what we are coming back to talk about. My guest on this particular show, the CEO, is Nurali Momin, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Jalaram Medical Services here in Nairobi. This is the CEO. We take a short break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the impact that these services are doing to the people around it. Thank you for staying with us here on the program. This is the CEO, where we talk to captains of industry, try to understand their journey and the impact they're making when it comes to the different fields. And on this particular episode of the CEO, we are talking to Nurali Momin, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Jalaram Medical Services here in Nairobi. Now, before we went for a break, we're just talking about his journey and how he rose top of the ranks to become the Chief Executive Officer. His journey has been awesome, we must say that. But now we just want to get into the, the professional side of it, in terms of what kind of impact they're making in the medical industry as they continue to offer their services. Thank you so much once again. And now, you say, before we went for a break, you mentioned that you worked at Aga Khan and you retired at Aga Khan, but now you are here at Jalaram Medical Services. How did we get here? Because initially you had retired.
Yes, as I said, that one of the board member, who is ex-colleague, he also the surgeon at the Aga Khan Hospital, but he's also one of the board member here at the Jalaram. And he approached me and he told me that we have a position of the CEO. We want to professionalize the services in this particular hospital. So please come and work for us. So I actually expressed my concern that at this stage I am not interested so much in working for somebody else at this stage. But he said that you come and see us because our vision and mission is completely different. You need to understand what we are doing in this particular place. It's not a commercial kind of a venture or something. Just come and have a look at it before you say no. So one day I just came here and have a look at the place, and he showed me the place and shared his vision and mission of the institution, that how it has come up and what it wants to achieve throughout the journey. So I said, okay, and I looked around the facility itself as well. Initially it was referred as an outpatient facility, but when I came here, that is such an excellent facility that it is no less than any top quality hospital in the country. So that impressed me, and I said, if this is the place, if I want to then part with my knowledge, then this is the place, this is the best place I can actually part my knowledge to some young and upcoming generation who will remember me in future. Then.
Okay. Let me get to pick your mind on this issue, where you say, initially you said, you expressed your feelings and said, no, I don't think I want to go back. At that particular, what was going through your mind? What did you think you're going to find before you actually convinced to come and take a look first?
What was going in my mind is that I was already retired. My family is there. My grandchildren are there. I was having wonderful time in Mombasa. And I didn't want to then say that, okay, now then I'm bound by times and like somebody tells me, no, you can't go for a holiday, or you can't do this, you can't do that. So again, you're controlled.
Yeah.
Though, of course, as a CEO, like you have much of a freedom, but still you're answerable. So that what we call the kind of a limit or kind of a constraint comes in your life. And you're at that stage, you don't want any constraints. Because you fulfill everything, my children are educated, they finish education, families settle, and I was having very nice life in Mombasa.
So you're like, I'm done with the professional side of it. Now it's family time. Let me spend time with my family. I don't want to get out of this spending time with my family again, because now it means you have to leave that. So that was one of the reasons you decided to say no. But now you decided again to take a look. And
by looking at this institution, vision and mission, I said, no, I need to do a little more in life.
Did it rekindle anything? Did something come in you and say, okay, when you stepped in here, did it arouse something in you and you said, okay, I might give it another shot? Or
As I said, that the mission and the vision which this institution, especially the combination of quality and affordability, one day I wrote on my LinkedIn profile, as I came to this hospital, and I said that I'm going to ensure that people get quality and the affordability at the same time. Some people challenge me that this is very difficult objective to achieve. You can't combine quality and affordability at the same time. And then I told them, said, give me about 6 months and see what I can do, and then we'll talk about it. And today I'm proud to say that, yes, we will achieve that objective, both the affordability and the quality.
And you mentioned something important, because that is what I believe a lot of people do look at and say, if at all you're going to offer something that is affordable or cheap, then to some extent it's not quality. But you say, now we are going to offer quality and affordable. How do you achieve that for you?
You see, the hospital industry in terms of investment is very heavy.
Yeah.
So if you have to look at this one as a private proposition, then you need big capital investment, and then you need to have return of investment on those ones. In our case, it's very different. Most of the things which we have achieved in this place is the goodwill of the people who have donated, including building, equipment. And if you walk around this institution, you'll see so many names who have donated money or a goodwill or something like that to this institution. So we don't need to worry so much about the capital expense at this stage. Of course, in future we have to. We can't rely all the time on donations. But that initially we don't need to worry about that rate of return to be plowed back into this institution, or to look for it initially. So that helps us to keep our charges very low. And the quality, of course, the board vision is that the quality should never be compromised.
Quality is important because people look for quality stuff.
And we can actually, I'm proud to say that quality-wise, we are no less than any hospital in this town.
We talk about the reception of it and how people stream in and come to seek your services. How has the reception been so far for you in terms of customers?
Customer, like I talk to my customer when I walk around to the hospital. I believe in walking around the hospital a lot. I believe in, I call it mabwa, the management by walking around. And I come across people, I talk to them, and I actually ask them how do they find the service. If I tell you that not a single person has told me negative thing about this particular institution. They find affordability, they find friendly service, they find quality service, they find efficient service. But that does not mean that we should sit on our laurels and enjoy that particular goodwill of people. So we continue to enhance our services. Currently we are looking at two major aspects. We are actually putting in a system for the hospital management information system that will bring in so much efficiency within this institution. Even people are satisfied, but we say that we need to do more, so our looking at the turnaround time would be drastically reduced in this institution.
Okay, so that is one way to have to ensure efficiency. Now let's talk about how your staff gets to treat the patients themselves. How do you make sure that if your customers come in, they actually get to be treated in a good way that will guarantee they actually come back? What is it? What's the message that comes from you, the top, that is driven all the way to other employees of this particular place, that now you say as an institution we're actually in sync on how we need to treat our customers?
So what we have called is that we are going to provide patient-centered care. So patient becomes priority for us. And I always tell my staff, whatever comes on your table, it comes through this patient. God, uses the patient as your conduit to bring it to your table. So we must respect this particular individual who comes to us. So that's the message I always give them. That for me, patient is like God.
Expound on that.
As I said, that we need to treat them like God. We need to treat them with respect. We need to go out of our way to help them out. For example, if somebody asks for a direction, don't say go right and go left and then you come across a lift. No. Just show them, walk away out of your chair and go and show it to them where that particular place is. So go out of your way to help that patient.
This service, are we just in Nairobi alone? We have expanded to different places of the country.
At the moment, I think the hospital, still in a very infancy stage. This is our second year of operations. So we need to consolidate our position before we embark on any other major expansion programs for that matter.
Okay. So in terms of now get to manage this place, because earlier on you got to mention that your mission right now, the mission of the hospital is different, but what you want to do as the CEO is actually something different from what you've been doing, and this is your reason for coming back, is actually to impact knowledge. Why is that important for you?
As I said that, like in life I've achieved everything what I wanted in, I'm a satisfied man if you look at it, my career, if you look at my family. So that part is already taken care of. But one thing which, excited me is that how best can I impart my knowledge which I've achieved over 45 years. Yeah. How can I don't want to go with it. We need
12 years is a long time.
Yeah,
that's enough knowledge.
So how can I impart that one? And actually people are very willing to learn, and they appreciate what they go through in terms of journey with me. So, it could be finance, it could be HR, it could be marketing, it could be the chief operating officer, anybody who come across me, they go with something new after my that particular appointment or that particular session with my staff.
Let's talk about you as somebody who sits on that particular chair and somebody who would want to get to where you are. What piece of advice would you actually be willing to give to somebody? I know it's still in the process of actually giving people knowledge and all that, impacting them, those who seek advice from you and all that.
The first thing that you must aim high, and then you work for it.
Aim high, then you work for it.
Yeah.
That's very important. Now, in working for it, no shortcuts?
No shortcuts.
No.
Yeah. It's hard work. You don't look at the watch. That, my time is over, 5 o'clock, let me go home. No. You work for it. You don't leave your work behind. You finish your task, whatever has been assigned. Believe in timelines so that like the bosses of yours, that they appreciate that, yes, you are dedicated to your work. So time management is very important.
Wow, that is important. I think I'm thinking about it in terms of not looking at your watch, because to some extent, people like me who are young in this field, you look at your watch and you say, this one will finish tomorrow. Maybe when it comes to tomorrow, something else actually comes. So don't look at your watch. Make sure that whatever you set today, you actually get to finish that. Let's talk about the vision of the Jalaram Medical Services and the mission, and how you make sure that that actually gets out there to the people.
As I said, that the mission of this particular hospital is to provide quality healthcare at an affordable rate and reach out to the masses. That's one of the vision this institution has. And the things which we are doing, as I said, that you already are looking at our pricing structure, it is excellent. As initially I told you that some of our charges are lower than even Kenyatta for that matter. But as I say that I can proudly say that my quality is no less than any top 3 hospitals in this country. So,
and when you say that, I see you're very proud about it.
I am very proud, and I am actually ensuring that happens in this particular institution. But of course, immediate which we are planning to do is consolidate our positions within the market, and also some of the services which are still introducing some of the services like daycare operating procedures, which we are now we started in certain departments like in ophthalmology, but we haven't started in other areas. So hopefully before the year end we will start that particular program, so that more advanced technology can be used with minimal stay in the hospital, so we can do it on a daycare basis. So we are trying to bring in more minimal invasive surgeries in this institution, in general surgery, in obs and gynae, in orthopedic. So That's one of the things which we want to achieve, is that you stay very little in the hospital. Like, so we don't even have a hospital bed, so you don't stay in the hospital.
When you mentioned that, I just want to ask something when it comes to the future of where do you see yourself and what kind of timeline are you giving yourself as a service provider and to get to achieve a lot?
First objective is the quality and affordability. We are almost there. But what is lacking is the awareness among the public that we provide this kind of service. So how can we reach out to those people and tell them that yes, you can get similar quality of the service at this charge? It's possible. Come and try us. Visit us. And like the other things which we are doing is that many people conduct camps, but we conduct camps in entirety. We don't go and examine people and saying that, okay, you have a cataract, what next? You have a breast cancer, what next? So we go out into the market, we identify those people who require cataract operation, then we bring them here and operate on their cataracts, not just leave them there. Same thing, if you do a breast camp or something like that, when we come across a person who cannot afford a particular surgery or particular procedure, then we bring them here. And whatever is there within our means, we make sure that they reach to that end, whatever we can provide at this institution.
Now, let me get to understand, for the 45 years you've been in the industry, what is it that you feel is lacking to some extent in some of probably other service providers in terms of medical?
I think when I started my initial journey, at that time the quality was not being given the importance. There are no quality control measures or something. And again, what I see here is that there are no regulatory body who are officially controlling the institution in terms of their quality assurance program. Wish if we had some vision or a particular body dedicated by the government who actually looks at it nitty-gritty, not superficially, but nitty-gritty of the quality would be very, very essential in this market, in this health industry.
Okay. Now, we want to wind up because we're running out of time. And I want you to tell me, in terms of reading a book, and maybe my viewers are watching you and they're very inspired by what you're saying, and they're like, what exactly does he read? What kind of movies does he watch to some extent? So what books will you recommend for someone?
The most important book which has affected me is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Successful People. That has really, really helped me to visualize myself where I want to be in life. And one scenario he gives you is that, you are in your grave, and people are surrounded and you want to hear what you would like to hear from them, and then start working on it.
Now I want to wind up, and really do appreciate that you sat down with us here, and 2 final questions before you give your final remarks and advice to the young people that want to come into the industry. This is another question that I feel I do ask my guests in most cases. What is one question that I haven't asked you, and how would you have answered it?
The question which you haven't asked, okay. I think you covered quite a lot and I spoke quite a lot, so it would be difficult for me to remember what I haven't answered. But the one important aspect people forget is balancing the life between your work and the family life. That is very important because they go through a lot. They sacrifice a lot. As I said, my wife actually sacrificed her career. So you need to recognize that one. So they play an important role. I think that question you missed out.
Oh, the family does play an important role when it comes to that. Wow, awesome. So just follow up on that particular one. How has it been for you? Because I know they sacrifice a lot, but how has it been and how has it helped you just accelerate to this particular point?
Well, as I say that, the understanding at both levels is very, very important. And maybe I'm lucky that my wife is so cooperative.
Not everybody gets that though.
Maybe. That's why I said I'm lucky.
yeah, that is luck. Some people will be like, no, it's different. But now, for your final remarks in terms of somebody sitting somewhere and a young person in their 20s wants to, start this career and walk in your footsteps, what will you tell them? Or rather, what will you tell your 22-year-old self when you started this career?
Sir, I would say there is no free lunch.
There's no free lunch.
Yep, you have to work for it.
You have to work for it.
As I said initially also, that you aim high, plan yourself, and then follow that mission or vision which you have developed. Yep. You develop a complete, I always tell people that you do a SWOT analysis of yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the opportunities exist in your marketplace? And what are the threats? So you build on your strengths, as they say, work on your weaknesses, take advantage of whatever the opportunities are, then don't let them go away. And if there is a threat, prepare yourself to fight against that threat.
Okay. How do you identify these threats in preparing?
As I said, like Stephen Covey tells you that you are in your grave and you want to achieve something. You sit down and say, okay, I want to achieve this mission. What capabilities and competencies do I have? And you'll get all those answers when you sit down for 15, 20 minutes or for an hour or two, just in a quiet place, and do that SWOT analysis. Identify yours. You know what your strengths are. You know what your weaknesses are. Just write it down. And then develop a statement that this is how I'm going to overcome. I'm going to take advantage of my strength. I'm going to work on my weaknesses and progress in life.
Okay. Thank you so much, CEO Nurali Momin. I really do appreciate, and it's such inspiring, walk to some extent. Having this conversation with you helps me learn a lot to some extent. I really do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for interviewing me.
All right. Okay, now we've come to the end of the CEO today. We were speaking to Nurali Momin, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Jalaram Medical Services here in Nairobi. We've heard his story, how he conducts his business, how he rose through the ranks. And like he says, there's no free lunch. That is an advice to you. So there's no free lunch. You have to work for it, all right? Just like some of us are doing. Thank you so much for watching the CEO. Let's do this again next time. My name is Brian Amwai, and have yourselves a lovely week.